All right, so good morning. Um, Welcome back. I think Ms. Donahue was with you guys yesterday. I was happy. 77 people attended class yesterday out of 82. That's the highest attendance that we've had so far. And I hope people were working on missing assignments if they still had some missing assignments. And let's see, today's the end of the marking period. So if there's anything left to get it in, because I need to turn in grades soon. Hello, Mr. Corkill. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. All right, so before we move on with the paragraph writing, remember, we've been working on text analysis responses. We've been writing introductions to them is what we've been doing. And you've written about 5 or 6 already. We're going to continue building on the last story that we read, Under the Eye of the Clock, about the boy in the wheelchair with paralysis, who learned to type his name, Christopher Nolan. We're going to continue with that story the rest of the week and add paragraphs to it. So make sure that you have that introduction written. It's for the new marking period, of course. I want to today go back and look at some student samples and some student work, and I want to show you some errors that are happening, some issues that keep showing up, right? And we can work to resolve them this marking period. Some of them are the usual things that show up this time of the year. Others are habits that students are having problems breaking. I don't know if they're old habits. I don't know if you were taught by a teacher maybe in junior high or something to do certain things, right? But for now, follow my formula for now, especially on some very, very basic things like placements of the central idea. And once I see that you have you've mastered. Sorry. So I see that you've mastered the elements that go into the paragraphs. You can, of course, you can switch them around however you want to your own voice. But there are some things that always have to be the same, right? The central idea. The central idea is your thesis statement. The central idea, it drives the whole paper, right? It's got to be the last sentence of a paragraph. I have a lot of students who put it in the middle of the introduction, and then they're explaining afterwards. You don't have to do all that. And you're overthinking it, is what's happening. You're overthinking it, and you're overthinking the summaries. A lot of them are getting too detailed. We don't need all that. All right. Anyway, so let's go on. Let me show you some student work. There are no names on these, so they're anonymous. Okay, issues to resolve this marking period. Okay. While we're making a lot of improvement in our writing, some issues are still recurring. So we want to start avoiding these common high school writing errors. Like I said, a lot of them are common with high school students. A lot of them college professors complain to us about that we need to address. Okay, so the following is an example of, well, first, follow the directions, right? Follow the directions. That's the most basic one. It's that the directions were to write a 4 to 8 sentence paragraph that includes a summary, right? Written in present tense. Write a 4 to 8 sentence paragraph that includes a summary, written in present tense, and a central idea written in third person point of view. Be sure to include characterization in the central idea sentence. Here's an example of a central idea sentence. In the excerpt from Richard Wright's novel, Black Boy, characterization is used to help affirm how too many young Black children in this country are forced to grow up at a very young age and therefore lose their childhoods. Right? a lot of students are not following the directions, and they're leaving a lot of important stuff out. Okay, so I'm going to show you a sample, some student work, and I'm going to go through some issues with it. The excerpt of Toni Morrison's A Song of Solomon explains how women should have self-worth and not be worrying about a man. His writing style is like a friend trying to persuade another friend and or person. All right, let's stop right there. The excerpt from Toni Morrison's, it's actually T-O-N-I, and several students had this issue. It's T-O-N-I, it's a female. All right, Toni Morrison is a woman, and she wrote Song of Solomon. It's a novel. Novels are not put in quotation marks, right? Novels are not put in quotation marks. I'm seeing this happening over and over and over. And I'm grant you, if you do that by mistake, say on a Regents exam, are you going to lose points? No. But are you going to lose points in Mr. Corkill's class? Yes. You need to follow the rules of the style, MLA style. So novels are either underlined or they are put in italics. All right. His writing style, of course, they have the wrong gender. This should have been a she, her writing style. And slashes, no slashes, unless you're discussing fractions or some sort of ratio, no fractions. I mean, no fractions, no slashes. Morrison goes on to express that somebody cannot belong to someone else, meaning that she is her own person and turn over her whole life. Sorry about that. Whole life was okay. So the big issue with this is that it's missing the central idea sentence. Right? Without a central idea sentence, you don't have it. You have nothing. You have no reason to be writing anything at all. You must have a central idea sentence in this type of writing. All right, next. In the excerpt, all right, the first line needs to be indented 5 spaces or hit the tab bar once. In the excerpt from Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon, okay, here's another problem that we're having a lot. Point of view. A huge majority of students are writing in second person. We don't write in second person for this type of writing. Second person is usually, there's a place for it. Poetry, dialogue, but not in a text analysis response. It needs to be in third person, right? So this person says, Toni explains, who the heck is Toni? Is Toni a friend of yours? Is the author a friend of yours? I don't think so, all right? This is a formal paper. You do not use an author's first name by itself. You use a whole name or just the last name. Morrison explains, look how many times they have you. You should never feel like you belong to anyone, especially to a boy or to your loved one. Now, the content of these are fine. I'm just pointing out some issues that need to be corrected this sparking period. You, Toni, you, all right? No more yous, no more second person. One should never feel like one belongs to anyone, especially to a loved one. We have to get rid of the yous. They are just distracting now. Avoid second person point of view. All right, what do they put down here? Worry about something else. Morrison's use of characterization explains how you should love yourself first. That shouldn't be a capital, because that's all you need and will help you very much to be great. All right, let's move on. Follow directions right below the line, please. In the excerpt from the Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison, the author talks. Okay. The author isn't talking because there are words on a page. They don't speak. Right? You hear your voice in your mind, yes, but the author is not talking. The author expresses, the author conveys, the author persuades, the author affirms, right? But the author does not talk, the author does not show, the character does not show. Yourself without having a man's approval. Love shouldn't be about someone owning you and having the power according to Toni. Characterization is used to reveal the central idea, right? Now, the author is using characterization to reveal the central idea, right? The author uses characterization. The author uses characterization. This should be in present tense as well. In the story, it shows how a girl is giving her all into a relationship, when in the relationship it reveals how he doesn't love her the way he is supposed to. Okay, so this is missing a summary. It's missing a central idea. There's also another big problem with this. I don't know who he is. I don't know the story. I don't know what any of this is. Your reader's not going to know what any of this is. These are called dummy subjects. Dummy subjects doesn't mean that the writer's dumb. Dummy subjects means that it doesn't mean anything to me. He doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know who you're talking about. And this one's missing a central idea again. Without a central idea, you already start out with 50 out of 100, say, or 2 out of 4, and they start knocking off after that. Right? Don't make it harder than it is. And then this last part over here looks like this is some textual evidence a little bit. There's no textual evidence in the introduction. No textual evidence. There's a time when you can start with a quote, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, here we've got a good summary, all right? This is all you look at that, it's in yellow. The excerpt from Toni Morrison's, who's drawing on there? The excerpt from Toni Morrison's novel, Song of Solomon, is about what genuine true love is. The narrator explains that when two people are in love, they shouldn't feel that their significant other belongs to them or vice versa. That's all you need for a summary, right? It's just 2 sentences, but it's enough, okay? Then Morrison's use of characterization helps to explain that some people believe that because they belong to a certain someone, that they are truly loved and devoted to be with that certain someone, yet they don't know their own worth and value because they are blinded with the idea that the love from their significant other is most important. Right? The central idea is great, but it's lengthy, it's long, it needs to be cut down. All right, so that's all you need for a summary. That's it, what's in yellow. And it's another example of you, no use. And then they have the gender of the author wrong again here, and the word show. Do not use show, do not use talks, do not use you. The passage from Toni Morrison's novel, Song of Solomon, is about how the narrator is telling a girl that she shouldn't feel like they need a boy that doesn't see their value or worth. The narrator tells her a story about how the class, okay, here the students started going into some textual evidence. No textual evidence in the introduction, no textual evidence in the introductory paragraph, just a summary of the main ideas, not the details, a summary of the main ideas and your central idea. The narrator tells her that Morrison's use of characterization in his novel, it's her novel, Song of Solomon, is used to express that there are a lot of people that feel worthless because the person they love doesn't want them anymore, and they feel that they belong to them even though they don't want him anymore. And okay, so that was the student's central idea, but then they added another sentence. Also, you shouldn't throw your life away because of a boy. The central idea sentence needs to be the last sentence. If you want to put that idea, if you want to put this idea into the central idea, put it in there, but don't make it a separate sentence. In the excerpt, Song of Solomon, capitalization issues here. By Toni Morrison, a girl is explaining to another girl that the boy she's chasing, the narrator is explaining, okay? The narrator. And if it's a poem, it's a speaker, is not worth it. The boy that she's chasing after is not worth it. Be very clear in your writing. It's not worth what? What do you mean, not worth what? That his opinion about her don't matter and that she should not turn in her life for him. Some grammatical errors with that, and that he cannot value her more than she values herself. Okay. Beginning a sentence with and is acceptable with certain styles of writing, but for a text analysis response for this normal type of writing, avoid starting a sentence with and. I'm not saying that it's not acceptable, I'm saying avoid it for this type of writing. I use it all the time in my own poetry, so there's places for it. Here the sentence says the central idea that is conveyed is all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 words are not needed. They're wordy. You don't introduce a central idea by telling us you're going to introduce a central idea. You don't need to put the phrase central idea in there at all. Right? Some girls, all the student needs to do is start right here. Some girls would rather love a boy more than themselves. And then the student added another sentence afterwards. Here's where we're getting into that problem. I don't know where students think that they have to add a sentence after the central idea, your thesis. Don't add a sentence after your central idea. If you really want to say if you really want to add that, then join them together. I don't know why this keeps going backwards. Doesn't need a response. All right. Dummy subjects, point of view, trite language, all right? Trite language, cliches. These are trite language and cliches are stuff that are used over and over and over, and they're redundant or they don't make sense. Toni Morrison's excerpt from Song of Solomon is about the narrator who confronts a woman on her actions in her current relationship. The man explains to the woman, the narrator explains, not the man, to focus on her self-worth before taking any further steps. Morrison uses characterization to persuade his audience, her audience, to be someone a person would want to date or be someone you would want to date yourself. Point of view issues, know you. And then the student continues. This excerpt expresses why. There's no reason to continue. This excerpt expresses the value of self-love, worth, and improvement, to be content with yourself. So, you know, all these sentences that are coming after the central ideas in the writing, they're great, but save them for the analysis later on. There's a place for it. It's just not in that paragraph, right? It's great, great analysis. I'm going to remind you, it's a great analysis. There's another place for it. In the excerpt, Song of Solomon, titles need to be underlined or titles of novels need to be underlined or set in italics. Titles of poems are put in quotation marks. The more pages, a lot of pages, it's underlined. Short, quotation marks. Look at it that way. Characterization is used to help. Okay, should be in present tense, first of all. However, the summary is missing in this. And it starts with the central idea. Central idea has got to be the last sentence, right? Point of view issues, you'll, yourself. The narrator speaking to someone saying that they shouldn't question their worth because of someone else. The narrator also expresses that you, right? Like I said, this is all great stuff, but it's the organization of the paragraph that's wrong. The central idea needs to be the last sentence, not the first, and there's a summary of main ideas missing. We're almost done with this. Central idea. And here's another example where the central idea is at the beginning. In the excerpt by Toni Morrison, Song of Solomon uses by Toni Morrison, the sentence construction is confusing. Uses characterization because in the excerpt the narrator talks, the narrator doesn't talk, the narrator conveys, the narrator explains, or the narrator affirms. A strong active verb, but not talks. It's just letters on a page. How someone cannot love you forever. This relates, okay, here the student went into more analysis. That doesn't belong there. It would belong in the later paragraphs. So the summary is missing here, and those sentences in yellow don't belong in this intro. 3.25 out of 4. In the excerpt, and I remember students saying one time, this is so short. It's fine though, it gets the job done. In the excerpt from Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon, the narrator explains to a woman that she should love herself and that she doesn't need a man's approval to know her worth. Morrison's use of characterization, there's some issues with apostrophes. Morrison's use of characterization to convey that no one can ever love you as much as you can, and that one shouldn't look for a relationship until is a thing, is a box that holds cash in the cash register. That's a till. The word is until. Look for a relationship until they understand that and have self-love. Okay, there's a couple of mechanic issues here and one thing that could be cleared up, but this is just 2 sentences, and this is acceptable for an introduction for this type of writing. Right, 2 sentences, 3.25 out of 4. Okay, so let's look at a comparison. So like I said, you guys are overthinking it, all right? Here we have a 3.25 plus. Maybe it would get even more points. But if you put it side by side to this one, which is a 3, all this in yellow is just details. It's just plot details. We do not want a plot summary. We want a main idea summary, right? A main idea summary, just the idea. You don't go into details in the introduction. Save it for later. So while this looks like it's too short, it would score at least a 3.25, maybe a 3.5. And this looks like it's a lot, but it's just a lot of plot summary, a lot of plot details. Okay. In the excerpt from Toni Morrison's novel, Song of Solomon, the narrator thinks the term belongs. Okay, the central idea, maybe, is at the beginning. Oh, I see what's happening. The student's explaining more details. Details, details, details. No, we don't need plot details. We just need a main idea summary. And then there's point of view issues. Here's another example in the excerpt from Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon. Characterization is used. It's the summary is missing. Remember, the summary conveys only the main ideas, written in present tense in 3 to 5 sentences. The summary does not detail all the events of the plot. The summary does not include opinion. There's no opinion in the summary except for the central idea part of it. All right. So let's leave this for now.